What's up, everybody? Welcome to SWAT MMA, where we're smoking weed and we're talking mixed martial arts. My name is Jarrod. I am here with Paul.
What up?
Coming to you from the fight capital of the world, Las Vegas. Today, we're going to be smoking and talking about the continued fallout of Francis Ngannou's victory at UFC 271. We're going to take a look at the upcoming Strickland versus Hermansson fight night here in Las Vegas. We're definitely going to be discussing the Fury versus Whyte purse bid that took place last weekend, and we will then be joined by Cage Warriors welterweight Tyler Escoto. Before we get into the combat sports, though, you know what time it is. Grab your weed, fire it up, and let's get into the weed of the week.
Smoke weed every day.
Today, we're smoking one kind of flower, two different kinds of wax. You can see if you're watching on video, Paul puffing down on the Puffco there. We got some Banana Foster wax, which is Girl Scout cookies crossed with Banana OG. We also have some Tropicana cookies, which is GSC crossed with Tangy. For flower today, we're going to be smoking on some Mob Boss, which is one of the favorites of the show. In case you've forgotten, that is Tang Tang crossed with Chem Dog. And it is around a 50-50 sativa indica hybrid. How's that Bananas Foster tasting over there, brother?
It's great.
Dude, can you actually taste any? Well, how are the terps on that? Like, I know
No, it actually has pretty good terps.
the Tropicana cookies we were smoking earlier is very terpy, obviously.
Yeah, it's got pretty good terps, actually. It's really good taste. I mean, with the Puffco, it kind of burns it slower, too, so you get a little bit more taste, I feel like.
Yeah, I've noticed the same thing in the PAX 3. Both of those, you get a lot more flavor than you do just hitting like a straight nail.
Yeah.
And doing dab.
Yes, sir.
And they last longer, too, frankly.
Yeah, a little bit, yeah, for sure. Well,
trying to get his joint fired up here. Hope you're smoking on something delicious as well, folks. We're going to get started with today, my friend. How about this crazy Francis Ngannou shit?
yeah, let's just talk about the fallout, really, from Francis's win.
Yes, we haven't had an episode since his big victory. First off, just to get the ball rolling, like, what did you think of his victory over Cyril Gane?
I think it showed that he's took a real serious, like, step in becoming a complete, like, fighter overall.
Yeah, he wins the fight with wrestling.
Yeah,
which is surprising. To say the least. He wins by decision, wins by utilizing his wrestling.
Yeah,
which shows a lot of evolution in his game.
A lot of evolution since the Stipe fight, for sure.
It comes out afterwards, of course, that he injured his knee. There was some talk during the broadcast when he first entered the cage because his knees were both wrapped, which was a first for Ngannou's career. We hadn't seen that before. And so a little bit of speculation that turned out to be true.
Yeah, it turns out he tore his MCL and then he had like ACL damage as well.
But he was not going to postpone this fight. His team here at Extreme Couture encouraged him to do so. But Ngannou was in, a very unique situation, which we talked about in our last episode, and which we'll rehash here for those of you that might not be up to speed. This last title defense here was the last fight on Francis Ngannou's contract. However, that does not a free agent make him be. The UFC's contracts are very well known for being pretty, there's no other word to say, pretty shitty and not very fighter friendly. And they have a thing called a champion's clause, which, now, this has evolved over the years, but it basically means in the big picture that if you're a champion and your contract is up, you're automatically extended.
Yeah, for like a year.
For up to a year or 3 fights. And this used to run in perpetuity, making it basically, if you were a champion, you couldn't retire or leave the organization with the title and then go fight for another organization. Now, there was a small change to this, which influences Francis's contract, which was back in 2017. The UFC inserted some language in their contracts that put a 5-year expiration date on their contracts as well.
Yeah.
So this is where Francis is going to come into play, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because we'll see an expiration of that date on January 20th of next year, 2023. And now with his injury, he's going to be sidelined anywhere from 8 to 10 months, potentially.
Something like that, yeah.
So either way, Francis isn't fighting, and he's not going to accept lowball offers from the UFC. What was his response? Like, he detailed an offer already, correct?
Yeah, he went on Ariel's show last Monday and detailed a few different things. Like, he didn't really say the length of the contract, but he said he turned down a $7 million offer before the fight. And then he also said that obviously he knows that, like, this isn't really over, like, necessarily that this is going to be an ongoing thing. And he's aware that they could strip him, but at the end of the day, his contract is, he had planned, whether he had got injured or not, to sit out after this fight until January 20th anyways. And he's only been fighting once a year because of his back and forth with the UFC, even leading up to before he was champion. So he basically said that, yeah, he's injured, it's going to take a while, but either way, he was going to sit out, and he has no problem sitting out and waiting for this contract to expire unless the terms of the deal, not only the money, but the terms of the deal are, put more in his favor.
So he's treated more like what he's claimed to be, which is an independent contractor. The UFC refers to all of their fighters as independent contractors in their language of their contracts. However, anybody that is familiar with what an independent contractor is, the UFC does not meet those definitions. For instance,
not at all.
they, during fight week and any fight promotion, they are not allowed to have their own sponsors. They can't have any sponsors in the cage. They are only allowed to wear UFC gear. During these times, they are not allowed to fight for any other promotions without the UFC's benefits. They are required to report their whereabouts to the United States Anti-Doping Agency at all times. So if they decide they're going to go on a quick fishing trip, they have to alert the UFC, in essence, that they're going on a quick fishing trip, and this is where they'll be in case a surprise piss test comes along. Yeah. Name any other job on this planet where you're an independent contractor and say, well, you're an independent contractor, but you're going to wear this. You're going to work. You're only going to wear these clothes when you work. You can't work for anywhere else. And by the way, we're going to come by and piss test you. And if you go anywhere at all, you need to let us know where you're going.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
It's absurd. So he's not making that outlandish of demands. And before people say that, well, $7 million sounds like a lot, to put that in some perspective, and we'll touch on this later, but Dillian Whyte is a heavyweight boxer that just reached a purse bid agreement to fight Tyson Fury. And for his title bout against Tyson Fury, which he is a massive underdog, and he is not a proven draw outside of the United Kingdom, he will receive about $8.2 million just for that fight. Yeah. And that does not include any sponsors. That does not include any possible back end on pay-per-view. That's his base guaranteed pay.
Yeah.
Francis Ngannou just received $600,000 flat for his title defense that we're speaking of over Cyril
Gane got $500K.
And he would have got a $20,000 sponsorship, money from Venom, because that's how much champions get from Venom. And that's the maximum you can get per fight is $20,000. So he got that. And that's it. Because he's not allowed any other sponsors. And he is asking to be treated more like an independent contractor, meaning he wants to box. And he was willing to allow the UFC to co-promote his boxing, just like they did with the Conor Floyd Mayweather fight. And he wants to get paid a lot more fairly when it comes to revenue.
I don't see the problem here.
I see no problems either.
Yeah.
But do you think that they will come to any type of agreement here where the UFC agrees to these terms, Francis is re-signed, and we see him defend his title in the UFC?
No. I think Francis leaves the UFC.
Me too. I think Francis Ngannou has fought his last fight for the UFC. The UFC is not going to bend the knee no matter what. And then they'll use this as bargaining in future when next time fighters try to strong arm them, quote unquote, in their opinion. They'll say, look, we let Francis Ngannou walk away, the heavyweight champ of the world. You think you're more important than the baddest man on the planet? They'll say nope. The UFC will say see, and life will carry on.
And now on the back end, they're gonna do exactly what they did to Cyborg to Francis Ngannou. They're gonna like almost make it seem like he was over the hill and that like he got what he could get and he got out of there, and that he hasn't come back because he's no longer the best in the world.
Yeah, they'll shit all over him on the way out the door, just like they already were shitting all over him. I mean, if you watched any of the promo leading up to this, you would have thought Francis Ngannou had been holding up the division while he's on vacation, living that champ life, baby.
Yeah.
Which was not at all what was going on.
It was like 40 days after.
Yeah. And while I think that this is great, because Francis Ngannou is the highest profile UFC athlete to take a stand by far and to make noise about fighter pay, unfortunately, I don't think that it's going to cause a lick of change. In fact, I think the UFC's only shown that it tends to dig its toes in situations like this. And unless Dana White were to get a call from the head guys over at Endeavor, then that's the way it's going to be. And Francis will get stripped around the time his knee heals, because they'll use the excuse of him not fighting being that he's injured.
Yeah.
And then when it comes time, they'll probably say he turned down a fight and was stripped.
Well, that's the thing, though. That's one thing he does have on his side is because of the injury, the UFC is in a pickle. They can't strip him because they can't say he's turning down any fights. But if like the way the timetable works with his knee, he was saying on the on Ariel's show that because of his injury they can't strip him, that he'll be back in time, or he won't be back in time to fight by January 20th anyway. So there's no way that they can they're fucked. Honestly.
Well, I think that they will. If they're convinced he's on the way out the door on January 20th, mark my words, they'll find a way to strip his title so that he can't leave saying he's UFC champion. So whoever he goes next, he can't be like the reigning UFC champion.
Yeah. It'll
be, the UFC will spin it as the disgraced UFC champion we had to strip, who was too scared to fight whoever the guy they determined was.
It'll be like he's scared to rematch Stipe. The third time.
Right. We offered him John Jones, and he was too scared, So we had to strip him. He's scared. Something along those lines. They won't bend the knee though. This will be that, and good for Francis, because he'll go somewhere and make more money.
Yeah.
So hypothetically, then what is next for Francis Ngannou?
I think he boxes one time and then goes to Bellator.
The boxing could line up because we've got Fury versus Whyte coming together here. It just went to purse bid, which we'll talk about later. And it'll be shortly, probably 2 months or less that they actually fight, because I guarantee you they're both already in camp.
Yeah.
So, and once that's done, we'll also have a definitive date for Joshua Usyk 2, which will be wrapped up, which we might get that, my point being, by the end of the year, around the time Francis is leaving. We might either have what I think will be Fury versus Usyk, or it'll be about to happen, which both situations will line up for kind of a freak show fight against whoever wins that, probably Fury against Ngannou.
Yeah.
Which has already been greenlit by one sanctioning belt, the WBC. I mean, they could just do it for that belt, even if he holds the other three. It doesn't have to be for all the marbles.
Exactly.
It's a freak fight anyways. And then I don't know about Bellator after that, but I don't
think he wins the boxing match. I don't think he has a.
Oh no!
I don't think he has a chance against Fury.
He has less of a chance against Fury than Conor had against Floyd, in my opinion.
I do too. Yeah.
And people will say, "Oh, but he's got that punch." Dude, we've seen Fury take his punch.
Dude, you go to PFL, sweep every season, damn near.
Yeah, and he's not going to knock out Fury. I mean, I'm sorry. We've seen, while he took the best that Wilder had to offer, I don't think Francis hits that much harder than fucking Wilder.
Yeah, no, I don't think so either.
So I don't believe this narrative. Oh, he could KO him. Well, I mean, maybe.
Well, anybody can KO anybody.
Yeah, to that extent of it. But other than the chance that anybody has, I don't think so. I would say it's more likely that he can after seeing Wilder fucking try.
Yeah.
So, but no, it'd be good for him to get to boxing, though, because he'll get some fucking life-changing money.
Mhm. Well, shit. What if he just gets that life-changing money and then goes off into the
That's
the
even better
sunset?
for him.
Yeah. True.
If he goes to Bellator, though, they won't pay him $600K per fight that the UFC was paying, but they will allow him sponsors, and he's a marketable guy.
I don't know. I think Bellator can afford to pay him big money.
They might even be able to get pay-per-views with him at that point.
Uh huh. Imagine him versus like Ryan Bader. He'd probably kill Ryan Bader.
He might. I mean, Bader's good. Don't get me wrong.
Because Bader just defended his title.
Unified his title with the interim
Yeah.
over there. Yeah,
Last
and
weekend.
did good. He battled back from adversity, won that fight.
Yeah.
He looked good doing it too. But
Well, he's only the heavyweight champion now too, so he's exclusively fighting heavyweight. I would think.
the wrestling that we saw from Ngannou versus Cyril Gane was done on bad knees.
Yeah.
So, and that was impressive enough. He might. I mean, Bader's definitely a more credentialed wrestler,
Oh, yeah, for
clearly,
sure.
but he might have enough to stuff and maybe even take him down. Who knows?
You think he could take Bader down?
Who knows? Maybe he took
I
Stipe
think-
down. Stipe's a
Nah,
solid
I think
fucking wrestler.
their fight would go similar to when Bader fought Rumble. It'd be like on the feet.
That's a good comparison.
He'd put Bader in some trouble, and Bader would go after a takedown and probably get knocked out in the process.
Well, he could go there, or there's another option that we haven't discussed here, just because we tend to not like the guy, but it's getting harder and harder to not take him seriously. That is Jake Paul's MVP promotions, whatever the fuck his shit is.
Yeah.
There's money to be made there.
Yeah.
And Ngannou might be enticed to go do some nonsense. I don't mean fight Jake Paul. I mean do something with them, or even, God forbid, Triller.
Yeah. Dude, what if, or it could all just go the greatest way possible? What if like Francis started fighting bare knuckle, dude?
Oh my god,
He would murder everyone.
that'd be sick if he went over to BKFC.
Dude,
And he'd get an instant
it'd be
title
hard
shot.
for him to get fights.
Dude, he would kill Joey Beltran.
Dude, like literally murder him.
Like in Ganu, where you don't have I mean, bare knuckle is technical, but it's nowhere near as technical as boxing with gloves on. Because boxing with gloves allows for defense tactics, and that are not allowed or not possible in bare knuckle.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, that'd be wild.
So I have an actual scenario for you though. If lightning strikes and he were able to beat Tyson Fury, do you think he would actually continue his boxing career, or do you think it would be like what you're saying, just a freak fight?
The only way I could see him beating Tyson Fury is if he's losing,
sparks him.
Fury, does something dumb somehow, and then
that's what I'm saying.
Sparks him unconscious, but was getting his ass kicked prior. I don't know if he would defend anything, because Fury would probably come back and beat him in a rematch. In all probability,
I'm just saying, do you see him ever boxing anyone other than Tyson Fury?
Well, who knows? Because the truth is, we've never seen Francis Ngannou box. He could have. We can't compare his MMA punching to what he might look like in boxing. Everybody likes you, but it's not the same thing. Yeah. And if he were to box like that, he's going to get murked.
Yeah, no.
But what if he doesn't? What if it turns out he's like a fucking grade A boxer, because we've never seen it? What if that dude comes out and he's fucking better than Conor is? Because Conor's a good, solid boxer. Yeah. I'm not saying he's going to be world champ, but he could beat, I think, several people in boxing.
Yeah, probably.
What if Francis is even better?
That's what I'm saying. That was basically my question to you.
That'd be sick.
Like, could you see a scenario where this turns into Francis having a legitimate boxing career?
Like, what if Francis pulls a Frank Mir, but he does it against somebody of Tyson Fury's level? And by that I mean Mir came out and he lost in his boxing effort, right? But he looked like you could actually hang, dude. Like you might actually have some skill here. You know, if you weren't fighting a guy as credentialed as you are, a former champ, you might have done something. Mm-hmm. What if Ngannou comes out and loses a close decision? And like maybe he could beat a fucking other prospect boxers, some fucking club fighters,
or
10-3 guys and shit.
Sick as fuck and
we don't even know. That's why I'm kind of excited to find out. I'm a little bummed about the knee injury, both for Francis personally, but this is a fan. Like, I wanted a resolution to this shit, because we'd get it a lot quicker.
Oh yeah, for sure.
If he wasn't hurt, because the UFC could just strip him and be like, bye. and life would move on a lot quicker. But I see Jake Paul making a big move on Ngannou when the time is right because of the fuck you that would be to Dana White.
Oh, we didn't even get into that part. Did you know that on fight night, while Francis was getting warmed up for the fight, he was served by the UFC. His management was served by the UFC for supposedly tampering conversations with Jake Paul and his team.
Yeah, I heard they sent an email to his manager, whose name, forgive me, escapes right now, but he used to be the UFC's chief financial officer, and Dana hates him, and now he's the head of MVP Promotions.
Yeah.
Yeah, they sent that shit right when he was in the locker room. That's what I mean. They're not going to get any resolution here with Ngannou. And then Dana doesn't put the belt on Ngannou when he wins.
Yeah.
And then Dana doesn't show up at the press conference afterwards, which he hasn't done in forever. And then Dana goes radio silent for like 3 fucking days after that shit. And then he comes back and says, what?
He was like, oh, yeah, there was some commotion in the back I had to take care of, and then I had to go.
Well, that makes sense. I mean, the CEO and president of the company always acts as a security officer to set up commotions in the back during the time when his baddest man on the planet wins the title. Of course.
Yeah, it makes
all the sense in the world. Okay, so he was back there taking care of security issues. And then he was probably just tired.
Yeah.
You know, like he talked about Francis all week. He didn't really see the need to talk about him after the fight too, right? Yeah. That makes sense. I'm sorry. I guess there's nothing to talk about here. Yeah. No, I mean,
come on.
Someone else brought this up. I can't remember who, but I heard this comparison. Like, imagine if whoever forgive my ignorance, it's not David Stern anymore. I don't know who the commissioner of the NBA is anymore. Yeah, imagine if he wasn't there to present the fucking championship shit to LeBron when they won.
The NBA
and then
trophy.
he dissed the press conference and didn't say shit about it for a few days.
Dude,
like, what would people be saying?
Dude, for real. Or think about this weekend. Like, Roger Goodell was just like, nah, dog, fuck that shit. I'm out, dude.
I'm not here. Like, because he was squabbling with the Chiefs quarterback.
Yeah.
Or some shit. Or whoever, you know, whatever.
For real. That's true.
Oh, my God.
That'd be so ridiculous. And I don't understand why Dana's not held to that same, like, fucking standard. Like, for real. You're right, though.
Dude, the UFC is handling the situation like it's still the Wild West, and they're not gonna like make it. They don't know if the promotion's gonna survive, so they got to extract maximum profits at all costs.
Yeah.
And fuck the long term, because in my opinion, they're stepping over fucking dollars to pick up dimes here.
Mm-hmm.
Why would you not show up at the press conference, put the belt around your champ, show up at the press conference? You know they're gonna ask about the drama, right? Be like, what about the contract? Dana, all he has to do is say, oh, that was just pre-fight build-up nonsense. You know, we're going to work it out. Shit. Or remember, I told you we had dinner.
He doesn't even have to even say it to that extent. He just had to say it's an ongoing situation, but he's our champion, and we want to keep him here.
Yeah, but my point being he could downplay the we don't get along drama as just media nonsense.
Yeah.
And when they say,
like,
what's going to happen, he'd be like, oh, we're already working it out. Yeah. Like I told you guys before, I ran into him last week out having dinner. We're cool. No big deal. Next question. Mm-hmm. Nobody's talking about it. Yeah. Nobody's talking about what's Francis going to do.
Exactly.
Instead, Dana White is like, we can't bend the knee here. We got to look good. Fuck making a big fight with Francis next.
Yeah, for real.
Fuck making a movie about our champion with our fucking management. What do they do? What does Endeavor do? Manages fucking stars?
Yeah.
Can't do that. Oh. Fuck going out on the talk show circuits like Good Morning America with my heavyweight champ, who's the best story in all of sports.
Mm-hmm.
Nah.
You see what he did though? He even Francis, he was on the Daily Show with Trevor Noah, and he was shit talking the UFC on there too.
That's what I mean. Like Dana, they could play this good, and I mean, hell, they went on shows with Connor. They can go on shows with Francis.
Yeah.
You can't tell me that Ari Emanuel over at Endeavor can't pick up a phone and go get Francis and Dana on the Today Show for a segment.
Mm-hmm.
Or any of them. Yeah. And yeah, that doesn't affect us. Like, I don't watch that shit.
Yeah.
But you know who does? Like millions of fucking Americans who
Yeah.
would love to hear Francis Ngannou's amazing story, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But no. Make his next pay-per-view a giant event because you've been out promoting the shit out of this fucking amazing guy who, like we talked about last week, was working in a goddamn sand pit when he was 10 years old.
Yeah. Nuts.
No. Francis
doesn't make any fucking sense.
Francis is hard to negotiate with. So
yeah,
it's a sad situation, made sadder by the fact that I don't think it brings any change at all.
The UFC is going to spin it in spin it in their direction some way, and
so what is the
they'll
UFC
move
going to
on.
do though? So let's wrap up the segment with this: that Francis is going out the door.
John Jones or Stipe for a vacant title.
That's my opinion too.
Yeah.
My opinion is they might even, if they're.
That's one fight that's eluded us so many times, and I need it.
It is, and frankly, in all honesty, it is the fight that they can talk about that will stop the noise of Francis walking out the door almost immediately. And if they play it right, it'll drown out the noise afterwards, at least for a minute. And if they're really ruthless, they'll announce it that because Francis is injured, they'll announce that fight for sometime after January of next year before stripping him as an interim bout.
That's gonna suck not to see that this year.
It'll get bumped up to the full thing when they go on the way out the door because of whatever terrible thing Francis
they
did.
could do this, or they can make that bout for the interim title in like July, International Fight Week, and then on January 20th when Francis gets.
Well, yeah, they could say he's too scared to fight John Jones or Stipe.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then, not only that, they can just, once his contract's expired, upgrade whoever the interim champion is into the actual champ.
Into the actual champ and say that Stipe.
They did that with DC when John Jones.
Stipe got stripped because he was too scared to fight the guy. Yeah. Or they all but said that about Cyril Gane already. Cyril Gane, sorry. I'm determined to call that dude Gane because I want to rhyme his name with train. Like every time.
Have you seen that meme where it's like when you wake up to eat some breakfast, and it's a picture of Cyril Gane?
That's funny. I haven't seen that now.
That's a funny one.
So, but yeah, John Jones versus Stipe shifts the narrative right back in the spotlight, right back onto the UFC.
Yeah.
And if the UFC was super ruthless, they would use this as a time to highlight what a good guy Stipe is. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, because they don't want to give John the shine if they can avoid it. So now it can be about how Stipe's been busy out being a firefighter and a paramedic this whole time, saving lives in continuing pandemic while John's been,
headbutting police cars.
I mean, Dana White. Then Dana's going to just pray to the fucking MMA god Stipe wins.
It's gonna be like the Conor the Conor and Khabib preview, but to be John's head hitting the police car instead.
Yeah, dude. While Stipe's like just diving into a fire, carrying some fucking body out. I wouldn't hate that promotion either, honestly. I mean, I don't care what John Jones does in his private life as long as he's not literally beating women up for fact. I don't really give a shit.
Yeah.
He wants to headbutt a police car, go for it, dude. Pay your fine, whatever. But I am down for the narrative. Down for that fight. I mean, just talking about it makes me want to stop talking about Francis and talk about that.
Yeah, I mean, it is definitely like one of those fights that has been like teased over the years multiple times.
There's no other fight they can make that would shut the talk up about Francis Stephen.
Oh, no, not at all.
It would. I mean, that's the only fight there is. That's it. John Jones, Stipe. Vacant title or interim.
Yeah, that's the one.
No one's talking about Francis. At least till he goes and does his next big thing. Well, let's move on from this. We could talk this to death, but there is a UFC fight night, unfortunately, from the goddamn Apex again. So over this, man.
At least there's a crowd, though, still.
Sort of.
It's like watching an episode of like The Ultimate Fighter sometimes.
Yeah, you hear like the six people cheering.
Yep.
It's like a sitcom crowd back in the fucking 90s. 5 people laughing. There's an applause sign. Fucking. But it is a good fight, man. It is a 185-pound showdown between Jack Hermansson and Sean Strickland. Sean Strickland's a beast.
Yeah, Sean Strickland is fucking hilarious as well.
Dude, we just watched the tour of his crib, his fat-ass crib here in Vegas. Man, this guy gave a video tour of his dope digs.
Like, I make a lot of money, so.
Yeah, it was his one-bedroom apartment with a busted toilet.
Yeah,
and some nice blinds came with the place. So it was dope. They don't quite close all the way.
No,
Nice.
it was sick.
No, but that's a tough fight. I like Jack. I'm a fan of Jack Hermansson. We've met him. He's a nice fucking guy.
Yeah, he's dope.
He's
got some ridiculously slick jiu-jitsu too.
He does. Strickland's he's no joke on the ground.
No.
I don't know his credentials
tough
offhand, but I've watched a lot of his fights, and he's just really, really mean and nasty. Like, he's the type of individual that's like the opposite of like Nick and Nate Diaz, and by that I mean they'll both tell you how they hate fighting and they don't want to do it, and Sean will be like, I love this, and if I wasn't doing this, I'd probably be murdering people. And he's not really joking. He's like being pretty sincere. He's like, I enjoy beating people up. Yeah. And it's not an act. And so that's good. Good for him. But that kind of gives you an edge, I think, over sometimes.
I'm actually glad it's in the Apex because he talks a lot of shit while he fights.
Oh, that's true. He does. Yeah. We could hear that.
You can hear it.
I forgot about that. That is fun.
See? Brighten up your views on the
That does make it
card.
better. Yeah. I mean, hell, I'm going to watch it anyways.
Yeah.
Dog. It's a fucking UFC fight. But, I mean, do you think he has what it takes to beat Jack? Jack's not an easy out.
No, he's not an easy out at all. And I think if he's not careful, he could end up getting submitted by Hermansson, but I don't see a path of victory on the feet for Jack. I think Strickland is better off the feet, and then when it goes to the ground is where things could get iffy. But I'm taking Strickland in this one.
Yeah, me too. And actually, I want Strickland to win because I'd like him to make his way up to a title shot.
Yeah.
Not that I necessarily think he has what it takes to win the title, but we need a fresh contender here. And I think that he would definitely be a good one.
Yeah. There needs to be a new face at middleweight to take on Izzy, and I think Strickland can be that. I think Hermansson has kind of made his rounds in the division as far as like high-level contenders. I don't necessarily think if he were to win this fight that would really, vault him to a title shot. But in the other side, I do think if Strickland wins this fight, he's on a short list of people that Israel hasn't fought who will would then be in possibly the top 5.
Yeah, I mean, he's 24-3. He's no slouch. He's currently ranked number 7 in the division. And I mean, he does have a brown belt in jiu-jitsu. I think with a solid win here, he shoots up those rankings pretty good. And he could very well wind up in the title shot. I mean, Israel Adesanya's, after this Whitaker fight, if he wins there, who would logically be next for him? There's already, we're already on rematch territory here a lot with this guy.
Yeah, for real.
And Strickland's on quite a bit of a win streak. I mean, he's got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 in a row. So,
make
this
6
one
in
here,
a row.
be
6 in a row and a win over a top 10 opponent could get you a title shot at middleweight.
And his win over Uriah Hall it was solid.
Yeah.
It was a decision. It was solid. Uriah's a deadly striker.
Yeah.
I mean, he held his own there. So, let's see what happens, man.
All right, so let's head over to some boxing for a little bit.
Yeah, we touched on it earlier.
Touched on it a little bit in the Francis talk, but now we're going to talk about the Tyson Fury versus Dillian Whyte fight with the purse bid, and ends up at $41 million. 80%,
Frank Warren,
yeah, Frank Warren. 80% of it goes to Fury, $32.8 million, and 20 goes to Whyte, getting still clear.
I thought it was done by 8.
Is it?
Yeah, well, he's getting 20%, which of 40 million is about $8.2 million.
That's what I just said.
Oh, did you? I misheard you. I thought you said he was getting 20.
That's what it was. But yeah,
And look, it's going to take place at a football stadium in the UK. This isn't going to be a Fury fight here.
Oh, is it going to be in the UK?
Yeah, this is going to be in the UK, 100% in a football stadium there, so like a soccer stadium.
Yeah.
And look, Frank Warren's taking a bit of a gamble here, but what a lot of people don't know is he's probably going to get a site fee of an astronomical one that'll cover most of that purse bid.
Yeah.
When it comes to major fights like this won't get a big USA audience because nobody here gives a shit about Dillian Whyte, except your boxing hardcores. And I mean, no offense to the guy, but he is a pretty good draw. I mean, he sold out the O2 a couple times over there.
Oh, okay.
So I mean, he's a decent draw at $30-$40 or whatever. They're $20 here US, I guess it is. So I don't have a problem with the purse split. But circle that back to we were talking about an entire contract offered to Francis Ngannou in totality of $7 million. And the guy that's going to get his ass kicked by Tyson Fury, but it's still a decent draw in the UK, is going to get $8.2 million for this one fight.
Yeah.
And it's roughly equatable, a heavyweight championship bout in both instances here.
Mm-hmm.
And I would be curious what the pay-per-view numbers are. I don't know if we'll get them or not.
I think it'll do pretty well, though.
That's going down as the largest purse bid in boxing history.
Is it still going to be on? Because isn't Fury still technically part of ESPN?
No, it's not going to be on ESPN.
It's not.
No, it's going to be pay-per-view for sure. Okay. I don't know if ESPN is going to have any part in it. So I'm not sure how long his deal goes.
Yeah.
Or how that works with Warren getting the bid.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, they're already calling it like the biggest British fight since Lewis versus Bruno, which Americans don't care about Lewis versus Frank Bruno. You're like, what fight? It was a big deal over there. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, it's an amazing purse bid, though. That's not all Frank Warren's money either. He had to get some backers with that, without a doubt.
Yeah. Well, at the same time, though, I think the biggest fight ever over there would have been AJ versus Fury, but that obviously doesn't seem like
it's possible if AJ were to win his belts back in another fucking comeback, but
yeah, but then they're gonna run that a third time because he got dominated the first time they fought.
Yeah, I mean they might try to do that. I don't know if Usyk will have a rematch clause or not. Who knows? But at some point, I mean,
well, yeah, that fight's gonna be pretty big. Now, I think we should also talk about a few announced fights over the UFC side of things. We got your boy Donald Cerrone with his retirement fight taking on Joe Lozon. Two older guys, kind of in the same spot in their career.
Dude, that's a decent matchup, actually.
Yeah, I'll take
guys. I'm not mad at that. I mean, I'm not super excited to see it. It should be entertaining. Joe Lozon always comes to fight. Cerrone, have we seen him since he lost to McGregor?
Yeah, he's lost.
He's been on a bad look lately. I've been.
Yeah, it's been kind of rough.
I mean, I'm a fan. Don't get me wrong, but
yeah,
I've not been stoked to see Cerrone fight anybody for a minute.
Yeah.
This fight's good for his retirement. Good for you. I hope it's the last fight on his contract and he's a free agent afterwards. And I hope the UFC doesn't hold on to his rights because he might go do other things. I wouldn't be mad at Cerrone and BKFC or like that. I
don't think he needs to fight anymore. Honestly,
I think he's the kind of guy that really likes to fight. I don't see him UFC level anymore. Maybe PFL.
Yeah,
he could do shit like that.
Maybe,
but that's a decent fight.
But I think he pulls this one off. Tips his cap, calls it a career.
It'll be good. I won't be mad at that either.
Yep.
He's provided us lots of entertainment over the years. He's a Colorado boy from my hometown. Got friends back in the day that knew that dude. Went to school with him. He's been a good guy.
Yeah. Well, and then we got the lightweight championship. We got Justin Gaichi taking on Charles Oliveira at UFC 274 on May 7th. That's a big fight. That's This is going to be a big test for Oliveira, I feel.
Yeah, if Oliveira continues to fight this rock'em sock'em stand-up first round, I don't know if Gaichi's the guy he wants to continue that pattern with, because he did it with Chandler and came a hair's breadth away from getting KO'd. Then he did it with Poirier and came pretty close to losing.
Yeah.
And I think Gaichi punches a lot harder than both those guys.
I'm going to be honest. I actually rewatched that fight with Oliveira and Poirier over the weekend.
Tell me about it, because I haven't.
I don't think that first round was that great by Poirier. I thought Oliveira was tagging him right back most of the time. Like I thought it was swaying both ways. And there was a couple times I think Dustin Poirier gets away with it, like just because the way he like comes in and out. Where I thought Charles rocked him back, and they just weren't really like, oh, like no one on the commentary team was really saying anything about like when Charles was getting him back. He hit him with some nasty shots, and those knees to the body, I think, are probably one of the biggest things that put the toll on Poirier for the second round, because he hit him with like 4 or 5 just like fresh knees right to the ribs. I wonder if that had anything to do with why he just didn't do shit on the ground the second round. And he got battered in the second round, dude. Like, he could have finished him, honestly.
Poirier could have been finished, yes.
Dude, he was getting smashed with the elbow.
Yeah, that's my main recall of that fight. It's the second round where Poirier just looked like he basically had given up.
But I'm saying, like, I felt like there was like this big narrative of it was kind of like I guess in essence it was similar like to the Michael Chandler fight, but I didn't really see the sway of like momentum like I did in the Chandler fight. Like I thought Chandler handily won the first round.
Definitely.
In that fight. I don't think outside of like the knockdown, I didn't really see like domination on the feet by Poirier in the first round like it was in the Chandler fight.
That sounds right from what I remember. I remember him getting tagged up too.
Yeah.
I don't remember the knees. I'd have to go back and see that. But the UFC commentary teams are very biased.
Yeah.
And they don't.
Well, I think everyone
even if
got
they
caught up in the story of Dustin Poirier. You know, like he had accomplished that. Like when he beat McGregor, he accomplished like everyone, that was like his title reign. Like everyone kind of thought now, since there was a vacant title, Khabib was gone, and he beat McGregor. It was like Poirier was the champion in waiting, and like I just feel like Oliveira shut all that down.
Well, he definitely shut all that down. Shit. And you injuring yourself over there?
Yeah.
He definitely shut that shit down. But the commentary teams are very, and I know I talk about this ad nauseum, and I'm not here to bash anybody, and I'm just speaking realistically and factually. Yeah. They spend a lot more time talking about things amongst themselves or a story about the fighter than they do like breaking down the actual back and forth action of what's happening. Whereas like if you go watch BKFC or any boxing, they're talking about almost each individual strike or the combos that just happened. And so you're right. If they only choose to then talk about one side, it makes it sound like the beating people are taking might even be worse or not as good.
Well, I feel like people get caught up in that when they watch the fight too.
Yeah, they do. You do. You can't help it because you're on with these guys and they're only talking about how Poirier is fucking him up.
Yeah.
And then they start talking about Poirier's story while Oliveira's landing big shots. And they're telling you how fucking Dustin did some shit in the gym with Daniel Cormier.
Yeah.
And then Oliveira landed 6 knees.
Yeah.
And then Dustin lands 2 more shots, and they're telling you about Dustin's punches after that. Oh, another big hand from Dustin. You know, Dustin did this. But you get that impression. And that could be what happened. I don't really remember.
Because I just remember a lot of people online during that fight in the first round being like, oh, Poirier's going for the finish. But, like, when he knocked him down in the first round, I didn't think he was going to finish Oliveira by any means. Like, he knocked him down and went into Oliveira's guard, and then he told him to stand up, and Oliveira stood up no problem and started throwing with him. So,
well, him getting hurt a lot worse by those knees and some of those big shots would explain the second round a bit more. It
was awful.
And then their strategy seemed to be, I mean, that's the Conor McGregor strategy they tried to say afterwards. We just figured he's going to take us down, so fuck it. We'll just lay there. That's a terrible plan before and after the fact. You know?
Yeah.
Anyways, he fights like that against Gaichi, though. I mean, Oliveira likes to stand on his feet and trade blows.
He does. He's gotten a lot better over like the last, I'd say, at least like 5 years. Like since the Kevin Lee fight, I really feel like he's come along real well with the stand-up striking.
Yeah, no, he has. It's gotten a lot better. But
I don't know.
Gaichi just comes out and manages to turn everything into a war.
Here's the thing, though. In the chance that it becomes a war, he's gonna need to beat Oliveira's legs up bad, because Oliveira, if it gets hairy, whenever it does, he's taking somebody down and he's going for the submission. And I don't think Gaichi's submission game is up to par.
It's hard to disagree with what you just said about his submission game because we never see it.
Yeah, and when we did in the Khabib fight, he got fucking tapped in 2 seconds.
And it's hard to play devil's advocate here. Khabib does that to everybody.
It doesn't matter. Charles Oliveira holds the UFC record for submissions, bro.
Right.
Like, that's the same game.
I know he's got 20 of his 32 wins by submission.
Yeah. I think
but he's also lost 3 times by submission, and he's lost 4 times by knockout. He's only lost once by decision. And he has 8 losses, but he has been on a tear.
Yeah.
I mean, clearly. I mean, Paul Felder TKO'd him, and then he had that win over Will Brooks before that. But then he was subbed by Ricardo Lamas, for fuck's sake. And Anthony Pettis.
Mm-hmm.
And TKO'd by
the
Max
Pettis
Holloway.
One, though, the Pettis one was rough. Pettis one is when he was trying to fight at 45 still.
Mm-hmm. But he has vastly improved since then.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he has solid wins. I mean, he subbed Jim Miller. That's not an easy feat.
That's huge.
Right there.
Because that's a number 2 all time in UFC submissions.
Mm-hmm. And KO and Jared Gordon, Kevin Lee submission. The decision over Ferguson, solid.
He whooped Ferguson's ass.
Yeah, I mean, it was solid.
Yeah.
If he goes out here and he beats Justin Gaichi, he's making some serious statements.
Oh yeah.
About his vast improvement.
For real. And where he is, like.
Honestly, I think fighters like that are better champions anyway. When you have some losses and then you improve your game,
yeah,
I think that's better because there's less for your opponents to exploit later than someone who their weakness hasn't been found yet.
Well, and Charles came into the UFC so early in his career, though, like there was no opportunity that he wouldn't evolve. You know what I mean? He came into the UFC when he was like 20 years old, dude. He's fought in the UFC 20 plus times, and so, like, those losses, like you were talking about, to, like, Ricardo Lamas and Max Holloway and freaking Anthony Pettis, were at a whole different time in his career where he thought he could fight 145 pounds and was missing weight every single fight he fought. So you had to think going into those fights, there was no situation where he could cognitively and, like, physically been 100%.
Yeah, he made his UFC debut at UFC Live, Jones versus Medashenko, dude, in 2010.
Yeah.
And he subbed Darren Elkins in 41 seconds, got sub of the night.
Yeah.
So that's how long he's been around before he just won the championship last year. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's fucking 12 years.
So with a guy like that,
seasoned.
I don't know. He's not careful. He might end up as one of the greatest.
I mean, his win over Jim Miller just shows his improvement because he lost to Jim Miller. Jim Miller subbed him when he was undefeated. I mean, he fought Jim Miller when he was 14-0. And Jim Miller got him with a fucking knee bar at UFC 124.
376 years ago.
Right. Yeah. And then he comes back. And I mean, Miller's still a tough out now, even he might be a little over the hill, but he gets that fight back.
Mm-hmm.
He sits here and beats.
He's beat some of the best.
Gaichi. He's going to push for the McGregor fight. Watch.
Oh yeah, he is.
And the UFC just might give it to Conor because that's how the UFC operates.
Dude, think about that resume. If he's able to defeat all those guys, like.
No, that's real sick, dude.
We're talking Tony Ferguson, Michael Chandler, Dustin Poirier, possibly, and now we're talking possibly Justin Gaichi.
Mm-hmm.
That's fucking ridiculous.
Dude, you could argue, I think convincingly, that with that resume of Ferguson, Chandler, Poirier, and Gaichi, that he would definitely be right up there as already an all-time great.
Yeah, like, legitimately, like it'd be him and Khabib are probably like 1A and 1B greatest lightweights of all time.
And people would point to Khabib's undefeated record, but then people would turn around and point to his submission record.
Yeah, he's got tons of records. He has the most UFC fights, most UFC wins, most submissions.
I'm not a big believer in the undefeated records. Unless if you retire at the proper age.
Yeah.
You know, like Floyd, give him credit. He went out. I mean, he was pretty old.
Yeah.
You know, you can say about his fight choices or whatever, but it's not like he just retired so early, man. 3 title defenses, 30 years old, whatever. Fuck.
I get it.
It's hard to be like you're the greatest.
Yeah.
When Anderson Silva's got 16 fucking title defenses.
I don't think he's the greatest at all. Fuck. I think Anderson Silva and John Jones. If you're talking about drugs and you want to kick John Jones out, I'll give you Anderson Silva or GSP. I think GSP, Anderson, and John are all still better than Khabib.
You can start to make an argument for Usman in that as well.
Usman's coming up.
His undefeated streak and now his string of title defenses as well.
He's coming up.
Yeah.
Usman is like sneakily like one of the. He is. I don't know. Like I think about it all the time. If him and GSP fought, how that would go, like in their prime, because like Usman is fucking good, dude.
Yeah, man.
People better. He's
no. I'm on the Usman train, bro. Yeah. He is
a bad motherfucker.
Yeah. If he keeps going at this rate, he'll surpass Georges St. Pierre.
Yeah, exactly.
He needs another foil though. Like, problem is Colby and him are an excellent fight. They're really close. I mean, Colby Covington's an amazing fighter. He doesn't get the credit that he should deserve for hanging in there with Usman because Usman keeps winning barely, but he's doing it. But he needs a fresh face now.
Well, and he did the whole Masvidal thing too. Sparked Masvidal, fucking.
Yeah, that's good for him.
No, I know. I just mean like as far as like his career.
Do you want to speak of sparked Masvidal? Masvidal's going to get destroyed by Colby Covington. Dude, mark my words.
Yeah, I think so too.
That's not going to be.
But
like when Chael said, he's going to regret it. Yeah. But I hope he made some money, bro. Because your time in the spotlight will come to an end after that.
Think so?
Yeah, I mean his fans will still be his fans, but I mean like he gets talked in the realm of like Diaz, Conor, Masvidal. Now, not after this ass kicking that he's about to get.
Here's the only problem. My only thing with Colby is with Masvidal. I just don't want it. The only problem is I feel like it's gonna get really. Well, we should talk about that too because that did get announced and we didn't really talk about that.
Yeah, that's why I kind of want to bring it up.
Yeah. So, the big thing with that like fight as well is like I just feel like there's so much emotion involved. Like that's the only reason why I feel like it's going to be a lot closer than people think because I think with all that emotion between him, Colby, the whole situation that happened, like it's just somewhat. I don't know who it's going to be. One of them or both of them is going to fight emotional, and there could be openings left open that necessarily wouldn't be there if they were fighting smart. That could happen just because they want to knock each other out.
I think it'll be Masvidal. If there's going to be what we would call an emotional mistake, I would say it's going to be Masvidal more likely than Covington.
Yeah.
Because he's managed to keep his cool and work this persona and all this shit now for years while catching way more hate than the average fighter does. Yeah. And he's never let it boil over into his performances at any point that I've seen. Whereas Masvidal is just, he's not looked well in his past fights. I mean, he's gotten.
I mean, he looked good in the Diaz fight.
Yeah.
And then he looked all right in the first Usman fight. It didn't.
And then he just got dominated in the second one.
The second one, he just got sparked.
And then we saw a war with Usman and Covington, where it was both just times, another
although I do think the second time Colby looked something was off the second time they fought. I don't know what it was, but like there was just like something was different about the way he was fighting. Like I'd never seen him be so passive in a fight when he fought Usman.
Yeah, he didn't.
Never seen him that passive ever.
He didn't do his normal output. He's really known for extremely high output of punches.
That was why the first fight was so competitive because both of them put that freaking pressure on each other, and that turned into that great fight. And that second fight, I felt like Usman was pushing that pace, and Colby was kind of seemed like he was pulling a Rocky, like he was gonna make Usman tire himself out and then take over later in the fight, which he kind of did, but it was too little, too late.
Well, circling back to Gaichi and Oliveira, I like Gaichi with the upset. This is an early prediction here. We'll talk about it as the fight gets closer, but
I
I'm gonna
think
say now
Oliveira
I'm
subs.
leaning that way.
Go there. So who do you have? So I'm guessing you also have Colby in the next fight then too.
Oh, against Masvidal?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I have Colby by utter destruction. It's not like
Utter
I'm some
destruction.
huge Colby Covington fan or anything, but I think
know.
he's gonna fucking
He's gonna
smoke
fuck
him,
him up.
dude. Yeah, it'll be not a good day to be
I think
Masvidal.
Colby wins a much closer fight than people think.
I think Colby utilized a lot of his wrestling too. He
That's
couldn't
what-
do that type of thing against Usman because
Yeah.
Usman's highly credentialed. Masvidal's not a fucking wrestler.
Yeah, but that's what I think is going to end up happening, though. That's why I don't think it's going to be utter destruction. I do think there's going to be flashes of the fight where it goes to the ground, and there's not like, for what it's worth, Masvidal has pretty solid jiu-jitsu once he's down there. Like I've seen him in a few different jiu-jitsu tournaments and stuff, and he holds his own. So
he's no slouch. But
yeah, I just don't see him being able to just like dominate him on the ground like that, like damage wise. Like obviously, I feel like Colby can keep him there, but I don't know if he's gonna be like raining blows from up top like when he fought Woodley or something.
I think he will be. I think Masvidal will rush out and do something crazy and try to get the early KO, but Colby Covington actually has a high fight IQ and really expecting it and not do anything stupid.
Yeah.
And I'm expecting takedowns and ground and pound, not a stand-up war, because the stand-up war is the only way that I see Masvidal could hope to win.
Yeah.
And I just don't see Colby, like, he doesn't have the same reasons that he wasn't taking down Usman. Will be the same reasons he does take down. Like, he doesn't have to worry about shit with Masvidal, takedowns and fucking, like, you're going to dominate him on the ground, in my opinion. So we'll see.
Yeah.
We'll see.
For sure.
But and you picking Oliveira on the other fight?
Yeah, I've got Oliveira and Colby by a closer decision though.
All right, well, cool. Well, we have got a guest joining our show now.
What's up, everybody? Joining us today is Tyler Escoto, who is a welterweight in the Cage Warriors promotion. He's going to be making his debut on their March 4th card in San Diego against Jamey Lynch. Tyler, thank you so much for joining us. Second fight.
Yeah, second fight.
Thank you so much for joining us.
No problem, man. Thank you for having me on.
Yeah, man, we're excited. So listen, we'd love for our listeners to get a chance to know you a little bit. You're fairly new on the fight scene. Just had 2 fights now?
Yeah, 2 professional fights.
So let's rewind it back a little bit. What initially got you into fighting?
Honestly, man, rest in peace to my grandfather. My grandfather did. He got me when I was young, watching WWE, getting all those fucking belts, just he really grew me up on that, just good old professional wrestling, and then when I got older, I kind of graduated to like the wrestling mat, and when I was training for football, I was a big boy. I was a big boy when I was in high school. I was like 240 in high school.
Jeez.
And I was trying to do something, some cross training for football, and I just decided to do Muay Thai, just because it was just something different, just kind of like something I wanted to like dabble in. I didn't really take it serious, but I started doing Muay Thai for cross training for football and wrestling, and just kind of fell in love with it, man. It's kind of like I started off in a small school called Kutar in Salinas, California. And my sensei, Master Vince Vanderlipe, he really took me under his wing when he first saw me. He saw me, kind of just a big guy, big wrestler, and their MMA team needed like a wrestler. They had striking, they had like a couple grapplers, but they didn't have like a wrestler, so he really brought me under his wing. And that's where like it all kind of formed, was my sensei just, you can really do this, like you can do this for real, and actually have a career with it. And I was like, all right, bet. And I kind of had that dream already, but it wasn't like I wanted football. I wanted football. I wanted to go D1 football. Actually settled for wrestling in college rather than football. And it kind of just led me here, man.
Nice. Well, with that like wrestling background, you said you have that Muay Thai background as well. Did that like that really kind of set you up as far as like transitioning to MMA, right?
No, absolutely. Fucking just being a college wrestler just really it put things in perspective, man. You know, I respect all those. I respect every wrestler that gets in the mat, and I respect even more the college wrestlers. You know, it's a huge grind, bro. It's like it's a grind that I wasn't ready for. I was doing a lot of dumb things and other things in college that wasn't really helping me progress on the wrestling mat. But I definitely learned like I definitely learned the grit. I definitely learned how to like, you know, cardio's king. You know, you can always push yourself a little bit more, you know.
Yeah, and being from that like Northern California wrestling, that's such a hub for like so many great like wrestling schools and stuff like that. So I'd imagine you were used to being on the mat with high level competition like at a young age, obviously.
Yeah. Even in high school, the California scene is pretty intense.
Nasty. Yeah, it's nasty.
Yeah, and like I said too, I was a big boy. I was like 240, bro. You know, and so I was wrestling. I was wrestling at 220s, and so I was dealing with our heavyweight. Our heavyweight in high school was like top 5 in the state. Hildy Manzer, that's my boy. You know, it was tough. You know, our 197 pounder, Josiah Paleli. He did all right in the section. You know, he was trying to make it a state, but you know that state tournament is tough, man.
Yeah, it's one of the hardest state tournaments to win in the country.
Oh yeah, bro.
There's so many different levels.
Nasty.
Yeah,
it's nasty.
What gym are you training out of right now?
Right here, bro. Premier Muay Thai, Premier Fight and Fitness, and then Atos Jiu Jitsu.
And how long have you been there?
I've been with Atos for like a little over a year. And then I've been with Premier for about a year and a half or so. 2 years.
Nice. Just finding a nice home there for as far as the striking goes.
Oh yeah, absolutely. My head coach of Premier Fight and Fitness, Zach Shepard. He also goes by Zach Savage Striking. He's a genius, man. He's honestly a genius. You know, he's very humble. He's always learning. You know, you find a lot of coaches that stick with their style, you know, which is nothing wrong with it, you know. But I like someone who's always humble enough to learn as well, you know. He's learning like every week, you know. He's showing me when I'm not in camp, he's showing me something, hey bro, like try this, you know, or I think this would kind of like suit you a little bit better, or add this to your game, you know, type of stuff, you know. He's always giving me new content. He's always giving me, just giving me new content, you know, making me want to learn, you know, making my mind expand, which is, you know, crucial in the sport.
Absolutely. MMA is definitely a sport of constant evolution. And you're right, a lot of coaches and fighters can kind of get stagnant after they reach a certain point. And to be already having that, you know, the style and the mentality to be constantly evolving is pretty sick. How would you describe your fight style to our listeners?
I used to be just a fucking wrestler, bro. You know what I'm saying, dog? But ever since I've been with Zach, man, I'm turning into a nice little scrapper with the ground game, you know? Like I said, like when I was an amateur, I didn't really have the striking skills. Like I said, I started striking when I was in high school, and I wasn't even taking it serious, you know? Even in college, I wasn't even taking it serious. I said I really started striking in probably like 2017 or so. So my first striking coach, Vince Vanderlipe, and Coach Andrew Kelly, they put a good fundamentals in me, you know. So I got good fundamentals, and I just kind of just complicate the fundamentals a little bit, and I can always rely on my grappling game. If you see my first fight with Cage Warriors, you wouldn't think I'm a wrestler, but I forgot I was a wrestler, you know. I forgot what got me to the show, and I stuck with my striking, and it did me well. Wasn't enough, but it did me well. But yeah, man, I'm a scrapper with the grappling game.
Well, yeah, and I saw a lot of your highlights through your Instagram from that fight, and I was noticed it looked pretty crisp. You rocked him a few times when you were on your feet, so it's not that you're not that far behind. You're right there anyway. So
Thank you, bro. Thank you, bro. I give all my credit to Andrew Kelly, Vince Vanderlipe, and nowadays Zach Shepard for sure. Everything. He's taught me everything on my feet. I respect him a lot.
Well, speaking of that Cage Warriors fight, how does it feel to be like a part of a promotion like Cage Warriors that, you know, they've produced so much high-level UFC talent, Bellator talent. You're on Fight Pass every time you fight, so you've got so many eyes on you. How does it feel to already be at that level, like just right off the bat?
I love it, man. I absolutely love it. You know, not because it's only, you know, a high #1 promotion in Europe. You know, it's pretty gnarly, and to be on this platform for my first fights, you know, I think it says a lot to who I am as a fighter. You know, I don't want these fucking, you know, scrappy fights. I don't want these like, I don't want these fights that people are just gonna feed and that I know I'm gonna win. And you know, I'm not gonna learn. You know, I'm not gonna learn from those fights. You know, yeah, I learn I got hands, but I already know that. You know what I'm saying? I know I can strike. I know I can strike with the best. So might as well just throw me in the deep end. You know, let me swim. I know I'm not gonna sink. I might struggle a little bit, but let me swim. You know.
Mm-hmm. So with that being said, you do have your a fight coming up on March 4th against Jamey Lynch. What do you think about that matchup, and how do you feel like you'll be able to go in there and like make your statement with this being your second fight in the promotion?
I like the matchup, man. You know, he's a good guy. You know, I think I trained with him a couple times around here. San Diego has like a kind of like a close knit MMA scene, so we all kind of intertwine somehow or someday, you know. But he's good, man. He's a dope guy. I've learned that he's a doctor, which is pretty sick, you know. Props to him. His grappling game, you know, he definitely wants to grapple with me, you know. That's one thing for sure I know he wants to do. I know looking at my last fight, I know for a fact that he doesn't want to stand with me. And seeing his last couple fights, I don't think he wants to stand with me. So I'm gonna put some hands on him. I'm not gonna let him take him down, or take me down, I should say. I think I'll be able to take him down with some confidence, man. You know, I'm not gonna sit here and say I'm gonna land every shot, but I definitely think I can get a couple takedowns on him, and I think I could stuff every single one of his takedowns. Thank you to Altos Jiu-Jitsu, Michael Perez, and Andre Galvoa.
And so how does it feel also, like, although it's a huge MMA promotion over in Europe, now they've started to do some of these cards down in like San Diego and different parts of the U.S. Like, do you like that, or do you want to go over there and also get some fights over in Europe and stuff like that too?
I like it here, man. You know, I like it here. It makes my life a little bit easier, just so I don't have to like deal with that whole traveling stuff.
Yeah.
But I think it'd be good for me to like experience that early on in my career. But I'm not gonna push it yet, you know. I'd stay in the States, just my preference. But if they want me to go to London and be one of them, be one of the wankers over there, you know, I'll be down to do that too.
Now, everybody probably noticed we're all smoking a little bit of cannabis on this episode here.
Yeah.
How do you feel about cannabis and training? Like, do you use it to help you recover? Do you use it just purely, you know, recreational? Do you mix it all? What are your thoughts on that?
I'm a mix of all of it, you know. I've been smoking since I was young, man. You know, it's kind of been a part of my life since I was young. So it's definitely just kind of like who I am, man. You know, I love coming home from a hard session and, you know, smoking a little bit and taking a nice nap and getting ready for work and then do it again, you know. But I definitely use it in camp. I definitely use it a little bit smarter, you know. I'm not smoking all the time. If I am smoking, I'm trying to get some little bit more CBD in my system, you know. I do a lot of drops, but I try to like, excuse me, I try to vaporize some CBD a little bit more often. But like I said, man, I'm here smoking a wood with you guys. I love my flavors. I love just lighting it up, and just easing the mind, hang out with my lady for a little bit, read a book while smoking a little bit, and definitely calms me, man, because I got a lot of I got a lot of problems with me, man. I got a little bit of anxiety, a little bit of depression. So it kind of like helps me out, man. Helps me out a lot mentally, more than physically.
Yeah, I'm right there. I'm right there with you, bro. I got anxiety, depression issues as well, and cannabis is a major help with that type of thing.
Yeah,
And
dude,
that
really
makes sense. Makes sense. It's good you're not using it as you get closer to fight date. Of course, you want to make sure your system's clean and everything.
Yeah.
But the CBD, there's a lot of MMA fighters using CBD to recover from pain, from tinctures to creams. You mentioned you're vaping it. That's actually the most effective way to get CBD is because you have more CBD receptors in your lungs than anywhere else. But do you have any luck using the creams for muscle soreness or anything, or do you stick with mostly vaping?
I live and die by that. I live and die by the creams, bro. The creams help save my life, bro, for real.
Okay.
I try to get them on I try to put that cream at least 2 or 3 times in my body, wherever I'm aching, wherever I have pain, if I have any injuries. Bro, I'll go through a bottle pretty quick, Also I also don't use I use the BioFreeze too, just keeping that menthol, all that hot icy stuff,
Yeah, that actually makes a good combination. You get a little CBD, rub it in, and then top it off with that BioFreeze on top. I do that. That shit works good, man.
Yeah, dude. It's
sure.
It's crucial, man. See, my body thanks me every time I put that cream on, man, because it's night and day,
Yeah, well, we're all blessed enough to live in states. We're in Nevada, you're in California. We got legal cannabis, so we got access to a lot of the things that other people are still barred from in some places, unfortunately. But it's pretty cool that we can sit here and legally smoke and while we chat and talk about fighting. And where can our listeners find you on social media? Because I'm sure they're going to want to know. So what is your Instagram handle and anywhere else that you're on?
My Instagram handle is I won't say it's tricky, but it's fucking from one of these, man. I was damn near at the end of this. I was watching a movie, listening to some music, just being high, bro. It's kind of like a high conjunction, But my Instagram name is Lieutenant.Jimmy Brown. You ever seen the movie
LT dot?
Yeah, LT.JIMI Brown.
And what is that from?
I got that. I was watching an adult movie, the Silver Metal Jacket, the military movie. I was listening to Jimi Hendrix, and I just got done watching the 30 for 30 on Jim Brown. So I kind of put the main character, the lieutenant, as the part. Yeah. Jimi Hendrix, just because it's Jimi, a little different spelling of Jimmy. And then you can never go wrong with Jim Brown, the running back from the Cleveland Browns, So.
Oh, for sure, man.
It's just all three great
that's
people.
That's an OG.
Top-notch combo.
Got 3
well, that's awesome. Well, and finally, I want to wrap it up with this. What do you want our listeners to know about you as a person and you as a fighter?
Me as a person, man, I'm really here fighting for the underdogs, man. I feel like I'm an underdog in a lot of these fights. Just because I am, these are my first fights, and I'm going against people that are 8 fights deep, 7 fights deep, 5+ fights deep, you know what I'm saying? So I'm here for the underdogs, man. I'm here for the people that don't think they can do something. As you know, I don't really have a lot of credentials to my fighting career other than my teams and the coaches that I train with. So I'm here for those people, man, that don't think they can do it. Because if I can do this, if I could be on Cage Warriors, my first fights, you damn near can do anything you want to too as well. You know what I'm saying? As a fighter, you're gonna see that in there. You're gonna see a strategic scrap. You know what I'm saying? I don't go in there and just throw punches because I want to fucking knock the guy out. I'm throwing it because I see something. You can learn something in a short amount of time if you really put and you devote yourself and you devote your heart to it. So I'm really here for the underdogs, man. I'm really here for the people that don't think they can do something. I'm here for the people that are low in their life and don't think they can do anything at all. I was there at that point too, for my depression as well. So I'm here for those motherfuckers, man. You know, you can do it for real.
Well, that's awesome, Tyler. Thank you so much for joining us today. And everybody listening, be sure to tune in. It's going to be March 4th. You can catch it on UFC Fight Pass. That's the Cage Warriors card. Tyler Escoto versus Jamey Lynch. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you, bro. I'd like to thank my my sponsors, Humble Imagination, Nuobi, my manager, Remington Steele. Thank you, bro. I appreciate you.
Absolutely.
My team, Premier Athos, Andre, Michael Perez, Zachary Shepard. I fucking love you guys, bro.
Thank you, brother.
All right. Thanks so much, man.
Have a nice day, guys.
It was great. I really like Tyler. It's good seeing him on the show.
Yeah, we just want to thank him for coming on as well.
Absolutely. And everybody, be sure to tune in March 4th on Fight Pass for Cage Warriors, Tyler Escoto versus Jamey Lynch. We'll talk about that more as that draws a little bit closer to us.
Absolutely. Well, I think that about wraps up our show for today.
If you're brand new, thank you so much for joining us. And thanks to all of our regular listeners as well. You can catch our show on all major podcast outlets from Amazon and Apple to Spotify and Google and everything in between, including video on YouTube. We put all this information, including links and merch info, in one handy spot.
At SWATMA.com, where you can head over there, click the gear button, and support the podcast. And follow us on Instagram at SWAT MMA Podcast.
Thanks, everybody. Later.
Peace.